Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with you all, especially on this beautiful day of Ganga Day, of Ganga Divas. As always, we start with a question that's come in advance from our family, our audience joining us online. And then we will open it up to any questions that anyone here has. There's a microphone right there, so you can just feel free to come up to the mic, share your question, share your name, and it's open to everyone. But starting with one of the questions that's come in advance from our family joining us online. I try to practice seeing the divine in everyone, but I find it difficult when someone hurts me or behaves in a way that I find harmful. How can I cultivate a genuine love for all, even those who are challenging? And this is asked by Karen from Memphis, Tennessee in the US. Finding the divine in everyone is a very beautiful and very powerful practice. But it's a practice that's not about, oh, I love that really annoying habit you've got. Or, oh, I love the way that, you're slapping your kid around. Or, no. It's not love of the actions, the behaviors, the habits, the words. It's not love of the personality. It's love of the divine in each being. There are certainly a lot of habits, behaviors, actions, words that we never should love. The last thing you want to do is start loving child abuse or spousal abuse. It's the last thing that we need in our societies today. But the question is, can you love the divine in the being whose karmic journey, whose karmic package in this particular incarnation has been to come in the form of someone who's a child abuser, or a wife abuser, or a liar, or a thief? Or can you love not what they're doing, not the brain or the mind that rationalizes what they're doing, not the mind that is full of ignorance or lust or greed or fear, but can you love that same divine in them that lives in you? That same divine presence that's here in the form of their soul, that's taken this particular incarnation in this body, with these challenges and these opportunities and these situations. Can you love that? Because that's what loving everyone is about. It doesn't mean can you love everything everyone does. It means can you recognize the divine in all? And that's how we love them. One of the teachings from the Bible that had always confused me, and I ended up asking all of the Christian people I knew growing up, and then I ended up asking even Christian leaders as I got older. One of the teachings in the Bible that always confused me was the teaching where Jesus Christ said, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." And it always confused me because I was always very literal. And I would ask people, well, did he specify? Like, what does he mean by neighbor? Across the street, next door, on your block, in your zip code? Like what did he mean? 50 yards, 100 yards, a kilometer? Like, who counts as your neighbor? What's the radius here? And no one could tell me. And what I got from everyone was, he didn't clarify. Which to me means that everyone is your neighbor. Because Scripture, and whether we look at the Vedas, whether we look at the Old Testament, the Torah, the Bible, whether we look at the Quran, the Guru Granth Sahib, whatever book we are looking at or books we are looking at, one thing is true about all of them. They're very specific. There's nothing in any of our scriptures that's very kind of vague or, figure it out for yourself. It's very specific. God says this. Jesus says that. Moses says this. Like, we're given it very specifically. In the Vedas, it comes to us through the rishis, the sages, the divine beings. Sometimes it's actually Bhagwan Krishna speaking, as in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagwan Ram speaking. But it's always very, very specific. And so what I finally realized, and it took me many, many years, was, he must be saying the exact same thing that our Vedic scriptures say. Because think about it, work this with me just from a logical standpoint here. If there's no definition of neighbor, it means essentially everyone is your neighbor. But on the street that I grew up on, I didn't even know everyone on our street, let alone have the possibility of loving them. I hadn't even met everyone on our street. Couldn't tell you their names. Now, how can you possibly love someone if you don't even know them? And that's just my street. Forget the zip code, the area code, the whole... If you don't know someone, how can you possibly love them? And so what I realized he must be saying, which in some way all of our scriptures teach us in their own way, is love God and then realize that God is in everyone. It's the only logical, scientific way of understanding that teaching. You cannot love someone if you don't know them. And yet, if we've been given this teaching, we've been given it in our Hindu scriptures and the Vedic scriptures. We've got Jesus Christ saying it specifically. If I were a scholar of comparative religions, I could give that to you from all of the different religions because I know it's there. And the only way to do it is you love God and you recognize that everyone is a manifestation, a creation, an embodiment of the divine. So when we talk about loving everyone, it doesn't mean loving their bad habits. It doesn't mean loving their ignorance or the way it manifests. It means loving the divine in them. That no matter how their karmic package is unfolding, you are still able to see your divine beloved in that person. You're able to see your divine beloved in the trees, in the water, in the mountains, everywhere. We've been created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator. There's a beautiful teaching in the Upanishads that says, Isha vasyamidam sarvam, yat kancha jagatyam jagat. And it means everything in the universe is pervaded by the divine. So if you love God, and you realize everything is pervaded by God, that's the way that you love everyone. So focus on that divine in them, not on trying to love actions or words or habits that really should be changed. But it doesn't mean that the core of who they are is any less divine. It just means they're living in confusion and ignorance and struggle. Just like we're living in confusion and ignorance and struggle. Great question. Yeah, other questions that anyone here has? Yeah, her and then you in the back. Yes, you. And then the woman in the back.
Hello, my name is Taira.
Can you come a little closer to the microphone just so people can hear you a little bit? Yeah.
Hello?
Much better, thank you.
My name is Taira. And following this line of this question, I would like to ask you how we can stop to compare each other in the way we are in evolution, in our place, right? I consider our way. We are trying to go to this evolution, and everyone too. So
yes.
How we can stop to compare where is another person?
So you should not compare with other people. A spiritual path, you should only compare with yourself. Don't compare with others. Don't ever compare with others. There's always, whatever scale you look at, there will be people higher than you and lower than you. There are people smarter than you, there are people stupider than you. There are people more beautiful than you, there are people less beautiful than you. More successful, less successful. Whatever you look at. The dilemma with comparing is, we almost always compare ourselves with people who are higher. And so we feel badly. Oh, that person's so much more beautiful than I am. Oh, they're so much smarter than I am. And then we feel badly. Even in yoga class I've seen. Oh, this person's so much more limber. Oh, this person is so much stronger. Oh, they look so much better in their yoga pants than I do. Don't turn your spiritual practice into comparison. The only comparison you should do is from yourself yesterday, last week, last year. So as you walk your spiritual path, ask yourself, the comparison to do is, how am I compared to how I was last week, last month, last year? Am I getting angry more or less? Am I loving more or less? Am I sharing more or less? Am I loving myself more or less? Am I anchored and grounded more or less? Like when other people do things that are mean or stupid, do I get hurt by them more than I used to get hurt by them, or less than I used to get hurt by them? And ultimately, as you walk your spiritual path, you should be getting less angry, more loving, more compassionate, less triggered by what other people do, more anchored, more grounded, more sharing, more loving yourself as you get more and more connected to the divine. So check those things. But don't like look around and see where anybody is, because the dilemma also is you can tell whether someone else is pretty or ugly or tall or short or, a good athlete or not a good athlete. But you can't actually tell how spiritual someone is. And a lot of people pretend to be spiritual who are not really spiritual. I can't tell you how many people I see who do all of the drama of being spiritual, but actually they live very unspiritual lives. Their minds are very unspiritual. So never compare, especially just on the outside, of what someone looks like. Otherwise you go to meditation and your mind is wandering and you look around, you say, oh my God, everybody else is sitting so beautifully calm. My mind is the only one that runs around. Then you feel worse. And you have no idea the monkeys in other people's mind. Everybody's got monkeys in their mind. So only compare with yourself. Okay? Beautiful. Yes. Yes, you had a question. Stay.
Thank you. My name is Geeta. I am from Haryana.
From Haryana.
Haryana.
Wonderful.
At the same time, I am from Australia also.
Okay.
So, settled there now. My question is, I am retired now. My children are married. I'm always in this dilemma that should we serve them all the time or we should detach? So, question is how to detach ourselves within the family, means performing the duties and at the same time feeling detachment. But generally it happens, I think that I am trying, but I think I am not actually able to manage. So I'm always involved in doing something for them.
Yes, yes.
But even I don't want to withdraw from them also. So that is
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So I'm just going to give a little context to what she's asked for all of our non-Indian people sitting here. Because the question that she asked is, how do we detach in the family? I've got grown children. I know I should be detached, but I always find myself doing things for them. How to detach? The Indian tradition speaks of 4 what we call ashrams of life that move sequentially through our lives. And the first is the brahmacharya ashram. And that's for 25 years. First 25 years of your life are study. Study in school, but also study spiritually. Brahmacharya is someone walking the path of seeking, learning, mastery of the divine, of the supreme. So it's not just like learn calculus, but it's study in school and study the truth of life, study yourself. Second phase, grahasthashram. That's the next 25 years. And that's your get married, have kids, have a job, make money, put food on the table, build a house, donate money in your community, these sorts of things. Third stage is the vanprasthashram stage, from 50 to approximately 75. And that is the retirement phase. Moving away from attachments, away from things of the world. By that time, your kids are able to take care of themselves. They no longer need you to pack their lunch bags or, pay for them to go to the movies. They're on their own. And it's the time for you to really start focusing more on what Pujya Swamiji calls the landing phase of your life's journey. We have takeoff, we have flying, and we have landing. And the golden years are what we think of as the landing phase. You are arriving out of your drama in the body, back into the truth of the soul, and then getting ready for the next journey, the next takeoff, the next birth, the next body, the next life. And the final stage is the stage of sannyas, which is the complete detachment from kind of everything of the world and focused entirely on getting ready for the next journey, just my soul, the divine. But it's important to realize that detachment is much more about the mind than about the actions. You can be in the family. There's no rule that says, thou shalt abandon thy family. Thou shalt move at least 2,000 kilometers away. Nothing like that. Detachment is in the mind. There's plenty of people who may be in what you could consider a theoretical Vanprasth or sannyas phase, who have detached. But all they're doing is thinking about the family. It's like Pujya Swamiji always says, you can go off into the mountains and live in a cave. But if in the cave your mind is all on what people are doing, it's like that great story of the two friends who are together one evening, and one friend says, I have a great idea. Let's go to the brothel tonight. We'll have fun at the brothel. The other friend says, like he wants to make his friend happy, but he just can't really bring himself to do it. And he says, no, I can't go to the brothel. I'm going to go to the temple instead. And so the first guy goes off to the brothel. Second friend goes to the temple. And shortly thereafter, they both die. And the guy who went to the brothel ends up going to heaven. And the guy who went to the temple ends up going into hell. And he's furious, as you can imagine, as he's being taken down into hell. He sees his friend, the brothel guy, going up into heaven. And he says to God, he's like, what is this? This is crazy. This is backwards. This guy spent his night at the brothel, and you're sending him into heaven. I forsake the brothel. I went to the temple. And God said to him, yeah, your friend was in the brothel, but all night long he was thinking about you in the temple. All night long he was thinking what a mistake he made, what a bad person he was, that he should have been in the temple with you. You went to the temple, but all night long you were thinking about your friend in the brothel. All night long you were thinking about what a mistake you made and how you should have been with your pal in the brothel. So it's much more about the mind than the actions. No rule that says you cannot cook for your family. Do nice things for them. Why not? The detachment is in the mind, and it's not a detachment from them personally. It's a detachment from the drama of a family life. Neto, everyone here who's married with kids will know what I'm talking about. The minute you sit down to meditate, what comes into your mind? Did she remember to take her jacket? Did he get his lunch? Has he finished his breakfast? Oh my God, he's got that big presentation at work today. I hope it goes okay. Oh no, I forgot to put his juice in his lunchbox. Right? This is where our meditation goes. It's not the family per se that's the problem. It's the mind being so stuck with it. Or it's the, oh my God, I hope she breaks up with this guy because he would be a horrible husband. He's not right. Please, God, talk some sense into her. Oh God, please help her find a good husband. Get her into the right college. Where we're supposed to be focusing on the supreme reality, that which is never born, never dies, eternal, infinite, supreme reality. Our minds are stuck. How much money they're doing, who they're dating, where they're living, what they're eating, what time they're coming home, etc., etc., etc. The detachment is, I've done my job. I've birthed them. I've fed them. I clothed them. I educated them. I gave them values and ethics, sanskaras. I've done my duty. I had the dharma of a mother, the dharma of a wife. I've done that. Now I need to shift my attention onto that which is permanent and eternal. There's no saying you can't keep cooking their food. It's about where the mind is. So the detachment is in the mind. Allow yourself to just watch the mind. Do for them, no problem. But can you do it with no attachment? So it's not, what time are you coming home? Where are you going? You shouldn't hang out with those people. Oh my God, another night at the movies? Like, you've done your duty. Let it go. Just let it go. The days of raising them are over. If you want to stay connected in love as a friend, as a support, no problem. But just make sure that when you sit down to meditate, your mind is not on their jobs, their relationships, their family life, but that your mind is able to go onto the divine. That's the practice. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Any other questions? Yes, we'll take this as our last question this evening.
Hi, I'm Nadine. Good. And along my journey, I kind of reached the perception of that it's actually, when you say heaven or hell, that it's actually the beliefs, the conditioning, the whatever we go through in life during this time here, that where we have the option to kind of create our hell here.
Absolutely.
And our heaven as well. What kind of triggered me a little when you were talking now, and you're talking about the two friends, one of them went to hell, one of them went to heaven. I reached a perception where I don't believe in hell. I don't believe that we're going to leave this human body and our soul is going to go to hell, or I don't believe in badness after. And I'd like to know your perception on that, because it's
Sure.
It's
Great.
I'd like it to sit in my
Yeah,
heart
wonderful,
somehow.
wonderful question. Heaven and hell.
Yeah.
So I don't actually believe in hell either, by the way, but it's a good story.
Okay.
Here's what I believe. And it's not just personally. This is what the Vedic tradition teaches us. Very similar to what you're saying. Our heaven and our hell is here. And it's being created by us. Our minds, our thoughts, and then our actions. Sometimes it's literally just in the mind. Here we are sitting in satsang. You could have a mind that says, oh my God, I can't believe I got stuck here. When is she going to finish? Is it too rude to stand up and walk out? This is awful. I hate it. You're living in hell. You also could be sitting in here saying, oh my God, I'm so glad that I decided to come. What a beautiful opportunity. This is so beautiful. Thank you, God, for guiding me here. One experience, one weather, one time, one moment. We're all here in the same place, breathing the same air, but having entirely different experiences. And you have the power in your mind to turn one into the other automatically. But sometimes those thoughts also lead to actions. And then those actions have karmic repercussions. So one way that we create our heaven and our hell is simply by our thoughts. In this moment, my thought can make this moment heaven, or my thought can make this moment hell. But also sometimes I have a thought, and that thought leads to an action. And that action ends up creating suffering for me later on. So maybe I have a thought that says, I am so angry. You know, this guy, before I came into satsang, pushed me out of the way, was so rude. I'm going to find him after satsang and teach him a lesson. I'm going to pop him one. So I walk out of satsang and I hunt down this guy and pop him one. Well, that's going to lead to suffering in a karmic repercussion for me. It may be immediately. He may pop me back, suffering in the moment. Or he may not. And it may be a suffering that arises karmically tomorrow, a week from now, 10 years from now, next lifetime. But nonetheless, that action is going to create suffering in my life. And of course, the sheer thought of the anger and the hatred is creating suffering and hell in this very moment. Our next birth, because you talk about, after death, so that's here. Next birth is created based on that which we do in this birth, and that which we did in previous births. It's continually adding up. But this birth is having a huge impact on next birth. So that which I do now is literally creating whether I'm going to go to heaven or hell after I die, but not in these realms that exist like we talk about in the story. It's quite literally in my next birth. Am I going to experience sukh, happiness, or dukh, sadness? Am I going to experience suffering, or am I going to experience joy? And these are created based on my choices in this life. So, yes, I create it. Yes, it is right here, right now. I do believe in life after death and reincarnation. And that in and of itself is the hell or heaven. And it's a continual cycle of us making choices until on a deep spiritual level, as Bhagavan Krishna teaches us in the Bhagavad Gita, the only way to finally be free of that, because ultimately, according to Sanatan Dharma, the goal is not to just have as much sukh, as much happiness as you can. The goal is to be free of the whole cycle of birth and death. And he says the only way to do that is total surrender. Whatever you do, even all the good stuff, your sadhana, your tapas, your seva, offer it all to me. Recognize you are just the instrument in my hands. You are just a channel, a vehicle, a vessel. And when you fully surrender it all and you let go of the doership, that's when you are able to free yourself from the constant creation of heaven or hell and actually just attain that state of freedom, which is the drop merging into the ocean, which certainly is heavenly, but it's not heaven in the place or temporary state. It's the eternal going back into the eternal oneness with God. Yes, beautiful. We will take the other questions tomorrow. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining from all over the world. And so, so much love to you all. And I